These, so I've taken these out previously, or actually really recently to me. These are the GL1200s, which are the, what would you call it, like a super tweeter headphone, where it doesn't use a planar driver or an electrostatic driver. It uses literally a ribbon tweeter. And the only problem with a headphone like this is that the connection to it goes to this box with the waifu on it. And in the back of that, there's mica speaker cables, and the mica speaker cables need to be plugged into a speaker amp. So these headphones, I fucking love them. They're still one of the best headphones you can buy, as far as I'm concerned. And this is ones, apparently there's replacement ones you can put in here, different actual tunings. But I even tried just now, because I realized I had these Yaxi ESP950 pads that they sent me, but I don't have the ESP950s anymore. And this requires a Velcro back. So I couldn't actually get these on there. I put them on there just like temporarily, but now if you're looking to improve sound or comfort of these, you literally can't. So I'm not here to talk about the GL1200s again. I've already did those. I'm here to set the stage and talk about this. The thing that's actually powering that. Well, the thing that's powering these through that, which is the PA5, topping PA5. Now, the PA3 exists, and I had one. And then I gave it to Princess Pasta. She has a room. She's like, I need a SMSL thingy, which is speaker amp in Pasta Phonics. And so I gave her the topping PA3, because the topping PA3, the silver one with the knob and the button that pushes two different things, was one of the best speaker amps you could get. Before Infineon was a thing, before the SMSL, DA8S, and the SA300, I'm trying to, you know how hard it is to remember every model number for every device you've ever used? I don't know how I do it. I barely passed like language in school, but I remember every fucking model number. The PA3 was like God mode. It was like, oh, get this. It's the one to get. Just get this. 8018? Nah. PA3 if you don't need the Bluetooth. PA3. So PA5. More power, balanced input, and only balanced input, which actually you should be able to convert RCA inputs to this. I'm hoping you can, because I think most of you people watching are not going to have balanced inputs. But if you do, maybe you have the rest of the stack. You see, these three things go together, even though it would be an Oreo with the black and silver and black on top. This is the E30 DAC, and this is the E50 DAC, L50 amp. So those two are the, actually put this one on, just it's not even plugged into anything, but I'm gonna put it on anyway. I've reviewed those already. I loved those. This is the speaker amp portion of it. So if you wanted the stack, below in the description will be a link to the stack. Actually, I think Apos has a combo for the stack. But let's get the specs on this amp before we move on. I also want to state that the only amplifier I've done previous to this, like recently, was the fucking Benchmark HAB2. So, I mean, that's a $3,000 like world-changing amplifier. So now everything else is going to pale in comparison. So I feel like I'm underselling this a little bit. It's because I've seen into Eyes of God, and it's like, ah, all right, I guess Emma Watson will do. It's weird. It's a weird thing. So amp chassis, same as that. The only thing you got to know about it is like this topping, the amplifier itself, the L50 amplifier. L50 has a big old power transformer on the floor of your plug-in, and then the DAC, the E50, yeah, just double checking, has a USB plug you plug into it, and this has this entire unit. I put it on the desk because I figured it would just blend in. Giant black box, giant black box, giant black box, giant silver box, giant silver box. This is the power supply for this amplifier. It is deeper than it, higher than it, and about half its width. This is a fucking monster. And it runs, let me see, 38 volt 4 amp. I don't know anything else that runs 38 volt 4 amp. And it actually, I don't know if they did this for shits and giggles, but, let me turn this off before I do this. I guess so they don't, you know when I plug in some equipment, it like sparks out the back? To prevent that, it's a fucking screw-in terminal. Like on a boat, or a submarine, or sensitive digital equipment. I'm actually going to unplug a couple things while we're here so I can show you the back. That was top. That's bottom. And we can leave the speaker wires. So, here's your inputs. 4 holes. 4 deep holes. 4 1/4-inch TRS holes. That's it. That's the only inputs you get. I will link to adapters because since this is the amplifier, it's looking for balanced input, but you could probably give it a single-ended. It'll just, the problem with that will be lower voltage because RCA isn't as high a voltage as XLR, which this is like, it is XLR. Like I have these converters that go to these Musician Pegasi. I was trying to do the stereo DAC thing. It doesn't work with this. There's a weird voltage difference, and I think the optical splitters are actually causing a delay between them. But whatever. Point is, if I would love to recommend this amp to everyone because it's fucking great. Like it's $350, which means it's not cheap. This is not one of those cheap fucking like, oh, Zeus, what's that $100 amp you recommend? Not this one. They're coming out of the gate with $350 for a topping speaker amp. That's crown money. Zeus, link an equivalent cost crown amplifier in the description. Crown amplifier, like crown fucking pro amp. But that being said, this will fit on your desk. It has 2 balanced inputs, which is the rarest fucking feature I think. I don't think I've ever gotten a speaker amp on this channel in any form factor that has 2 balanced inputs you can switch between. If you can think of one that I've reviewed, please tell me. Because what I ended up doing after hooking this up and going and just listening to it, I was doing the DAC here, topping DAC, using these cables. And then I got the adapter cables that I have to go XLR out of the Musician Pegasus. So I was doing R2R DAC versus, and it was just a flip of a switch. Listening to a cheapish DAC, expensive DAC. Cheapish DAC, expensive DAC. And luckily, the gold planars were here to help. Because on the speakers, I couldn't tell a difference. But through the gold planars, I literally couldn't tell a difference. I'm so sorry, everyone who buys expensive jacks. Like when the $300 topping ones sound like the $1,100, fancy musician R2Rs, which I know people have some issues with these DACs as far as like controversy, but it's back to the old adage. Maybe fiber optics not good enough. Obviously, Zeus, you got to have this fed with I2S or it's what II2S or okay. Shh. Back to this unit. We're looking at this one. The fascia is fucking littered with fingerprints. Fucking littered. Because it's been in the basement and I've just been using it. And the light's not helping that either. 2 switches. 2 switches for bitches. On, which is not plugged in, but on and off, there's a little tiny power LED there. Like tiny. Like fucking, it's like here. Here's what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like. See this little tiny white dot? That's the power indicator on this stack. It's that one, and there's one here, and that comes on bright fucking lights. Let's, then the other switch, so it's just on and off. The other switch is in 1, in 2. That's it. Controls, oh God, are done. Then we have the problem of the volume knob. Now the volume knob seems to sound pretty good. Doesn't have any like scratching. Doesn't have any imbalance at low levels. But the indicator, well, on this one, it's a black knob with a red ring and a white notch right there. I could just make it out. Can you make it out? Can you see that notch moving back and forth? It actually, it's pretty cool. It's kind of nice, kind of competent. On the silver version, you have a silver ring with a black fascia and a black little notch. That right there is bad. It's a bad indicator. So it's going to be one of those, get out the paint marker, turn it to noon and draw an arrow or draw on the top of it to see where the fuck it is. I don't like, I know everyone wants to look clean, but I've seen this in units since the 80s have had this. Put an LED behind the knob and light the acrylic up and just light it up so I could see where the fuck my knob is. This speaker amp at 4 ohms is 140 watts per channel. And at 8 ohms is 85 watts per channel. And if you keep the distortion under 1%, it's 65 watts per channel. Did you know how that works? Because it's class D. So when I'm using it with this setup, which was running 100 watts per channel off of the benchmark, it's perfectly clean to the maximum. With this amplifier, getting it up past like 3 o'clock to where you get to the actual like full rated power, I was starting to notice some distortion. But then again, this is also a ridiculously hard to drive load. And like every speaker is easier than it. In fact, I'm going to pause the video at some point. We're going to hook these triangles back up because I tried other speakers, but these have been here and I just can't get my fill of these speakers. I'm pretty sure the reviews come out already. I've uploaded. But these are the Borea BR09s, and I can't imagine the higher level ones sounding better. I just can't. So yeah, switch, knob, unfortunate knob. Needs more care paid to that. But if we look at the unit itself, another thing I noticed, I've never seen this on a unit. It's like, oh, the top looks fine. High-res audio sticker. Holy shit. Holy shit. There's so much air movement. You could tell it's a serious amp, because most of these amps don't have any air movement at all. Lox GA30 is a completely sealed unit. The other ones I mentioned previously are just all sealed units. Not this. These are huge. It's like a pencil through here almost. So they're actually generating some heat. The bottom one actually doesn't look like it's doing too much because it's got a plastic cover there. So it doesn't ground out onto the unit, but they're there. These holes are all here, and it will get warm. Not hot. Not like, oh fuck, burn my hand hot, but warm when you're actually in use. And the back, again, as we looked at, your 2 inputs, which make it look like this, and I've completely forgot which side is left and right, but that's not going to matter for this. So there's your input. Only this. Actually, I should test that. I should test that right now. Give me a second. Okay, so what I've done is I've gone to my box over there. Hi lady from Audiophile. Gone to my box over there and gotten these 1/4-inch adapters onto some RCAs, which are these are the KTE tipped Magomi wired world's best cables. Zeo's linked to them. They're not cheap. These are not cheap RCAs, but they explained that the reason they're so expensive is because they use less metal, because this is all plastic and then there's just a little sliver of metal there, so that the capacitance is better. Less capacitance, more signal and less metal. So I'm like, you know what? Whatever lets you sleep at night, man. I don't want to say how much these wires are a pair, but they're up there. But these adapters, and I use it now for like 5-10 minutes, making sure it doesn't blow up the amp. They absolutely 100% allow you to use an RCA cable out of just any DAC you want. My biggest problem with this amp, because it sounds fucking amazing. It's pushing these speakers, it pushed the boot carts. I ought to have the clips over here. Hunt for Red October. My biggest issue with this amplifier is Topping's commitment to balance. Because this thing costs as much as a Crown amp. We've already said that. And I understand. This is their stack they wanted to go with. And what you would do is you take the balanced output of the DAC and you put it into the balanced input 1/4-inch of the amp. And then there's a pass-through so that it just like whoops and doesn't touch anything, pass through into this, and everybody's hunky-dory and happy and you've got your stack. But they're assuming you're buying this stack. They're almost forcing it. They're almost making it proprietary. Almost. I could link you adapters to the regular full XLRs. I could link you these little RCA adapters. You can use it. It would have been nice if input 1 and 2 weren't both balanced. If one of them was a stranded RCA and the other one was a 3.5 was the 1/4-inch balanced. This way, I could sell it to people without like giving them like, hey, you got to buy a special cable for it. It just would have been nice. For this price, it should have had both. But also, when you really look at it, they're cornering the audiophile desk game here. Because I think it sounds as good or better than most of the amplifiers I've listened to. Granted, I'm coming off again the benchmark, but I know what good sound like. And there you could hear there's about a 5 decibel drop when you go to the RCA with the adapters, because RCA is legitimately just less voltage. So it's coming in at 2 to 2.25 volts, where the balance is coming out of the other DAC at like 4 volts. So you will have two things happen. You'll be able to get as much out of the amp, but like I read before, since you're not getting up to the 85 watts per channel, you're getting up to 65 watts per channel, you'll now have no distortion. So I think that's plenty. So yeah, if you're going to go with this amp, you can run RCA. You just got to buy some adapters. If you're going to go balance, if you're a balanced psychopath and you have a different DAC that's not this DAC, you're going to have to buy a special cable. And fuck, I didn't even remember. Even if you have this DAC and this amp, they don't include these wires. I had to link these in the review of this setup. These are pig hog. I'll link to either these or to the world's best equivalent, since I'm using world's best crazy KTs, and no one's buying those. No one's buying those. If you own a set of those and you think they sound better than your other RCAs, stop it. But they are fucking nice to touch. I at this point in the game where I am as far as cables go, if I'm paying for a cable, fine, it better do its job. But if I'm not paying for a cable and it's super expensive, well, it better be fucking nice to touch too. But I want to tie that shit around my junk and like squeeze it. Like, yeah, this is what a $170 cable feels like. Because I mean, that's really, we're getting to the point now where it's like, do you really need that? I don't think you do. So yeah, I'll link to some patch cables in case you wanted to get the whole stack. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you right now going, Topping, I love you, I'm buying the Oreo, which would be, fuck this huge power supply. Ruins everything there. Here is the Oreo Stack. See? See, because it's silver in the middle, like the cream. And did I look at I looked at all the vents, right? Because yeah, no, the vents probably won't matter because they're not on the top. They're only on the side and bottom. You got plenty of gap there, so. I think this unit is worthy of the PA5 name. I think they could have either included adapters for RCA or included RCAs in the back. I don't expect it to have, like, it doesn't need a remote. That's another thing. Because you're expected in their world to go through the DAC. The DAC has a remote. And so you could use the DAC straight out to powered speakers and be fine. Or you could push it into the PA5 with the jumpers, set your PA5, and then, you know, adjust and I can't do it because it's not hooked up to it right now. Adjust and mute and control the volume with the DAC's remote, because the DAC can literally limit the signal to it. So I get, like, it's a great stack. This is a fucking great stack. I don't know why it's L50, E50, A5. Power Amplifier 5? Like, what was wrong with P50? Passive 50? What was wrong with that? Power supply? They had to fuck up the naming. The power indicator is just, are also abysmal in both of these. Like, they're just these little fucking white dots. It could be dust. There's dust that is the same size and brightness on the fascia of the unit. Oh, by the way, I'm also down 2.5 decibels here because these R2R DACs, when I was doing the switching back and forth, were 2.5 decibels quieter. So I wanted to have it switch without any noticing like the volume change. It was 2.5 decibels. So yeah, PA5 workhorse. It's a workhorse. I think someone will come out with a bigger one at some point. Phil Collins. Wait, what Phil Collins song do I want to do? RCA? That's in the air tonight, by the way, for all you people who don't understand how Miami Vice was a culture of music back in the 80s. I don't remember Miami Vice, but I remember my father watching reruns. I mean, oh my God, the music's so good in it. So Miami Vice is where all the music should have been born and never left. Where the movie sucked, I heard. Phil Collins, the artist who doesn't act, played a bad guy in Miami Vice. Is there a current TV show, please tell me, where a modern day, like, up and coming music star acts in it? And I'm not talking about Childish Gambino in Atlanta, because, by the way, watch Atlanta. New season's coming. Watch it. If you've never seen Atlanta, I'm gonna break from this. I'll try to find it. Zeos, be the cool guy that does this. There is a trailer out for the new season of Atlanta. I think it's season 2 or 3. It's either 2 or 3. They took a break over the whole of quarantine, all of COVID. They didn't come back. If you've never seen Atlanta, you have no idea what it's about. Watch the trailer in the description, and then tell me what Atlanta is about in the comments. Just from the trailer you're gonna watch. I'll give you a clue. He's a rap star, not Childish Gambino. He plays the cousin / manager. The Paperboy is a rap star. But watch that fucking trailer and tell me what that show is about. And then you know what? Once you don't know, that's what that show is about. I'm going to listen to Phil Collins now. So look, here's the thing. It's an expensive fucking amp, but it matches these units in quality and performance easily. Handily, this stack is God mode stack. 5 years ago, you couldn't touch this. There was nothing that would touch this for 5 years ago. Now you could mix and match different components. You can get some THX stuff. You can get some Infineon SMSL. 5 years ago, this would be an impossible to get stack for the price. Under $1,000 for all 3 units, and it does speaker and headphone balance, and it's all balanced. It's got a remote control. I'm gonna puke. Not from how good it is, from the tortilla soup that I made with lots of rice. I just so much rice. Anyway, this amp makes sense if you're gonna buy a desktop amp. Because here's the thing, it doesn't have a remote control. You'd have to use the remote from the DAC to do it. So it's not like you're just buying this and putting it in your living room like a Lox GA30, which is all in one and Bluetooth. This is a specific power amp. It's basically a power amp. I wouldn't call it integrated. It's not integrated. It's got one switch. That's all. That's all. I could see the drum solo because I used waveform seek bar. Hold on, here it comes. 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 Okay, that wasn't a drum solo. The drum solo is coming later. Let's skip to it. Wait, is that it? All right, whatever. I'll listen to Phil Collins on my own fucking time. In the meantime, Topping PA5. Do recommend links to it. It's cheap enough that if it's like, I want an amp Zeos that I'm not going to worry about any fucking speaker being pushed in it. As long as if it's 8 ohms, you're going to get 65 extremely clean watts out of it. If it's 4 ohms, you're going to get probably 120 extremely clean watts out of it. That's a lot of power. This is a fucking huge power brick. There's another thing. You got to like deal with this. I'm glad it uses this figure 8 connector. So as long as you could handle this and you're okay with it being a knob driven thing that you can't fucking paint on the motherfucking paint on it, I'm gonna get my magic marker out. Even if I sell this in the yard sale at some point, which I'm not going to, because I gave away my PA3 to Pasta. I'm gonna have to keep this PA5, but I'm gonna fucking put an indicator on it because I like to see things. But that anger is done. There's nothing else bad about this. It shows up, it kicks ass, it takes names, and you go home. You go home and fuck the prom queen. Pasta was the prom queen. Okay, I'm done. Links to the stack. The stack is important. I'll link to the GL1200s. I'll link to all the fucking wires and cables and adapters and fucking, what else did I say I was a link to? The trailer Atlanta, and I'll link to the musician Pegasus. I tried to do the stereo thing. It didn't work because there's issues with voltages between the two, and the delay from the optical box. Like the actual optical splitter has a delay between the two because I had one that had 4 ports, and if I did them far apart, it was a real blatant delay, and then if I got them closer, it was like much less blatant. So I gotta probably whip out a mini DSP Nano Digi to do that. But yeah, no, I'm done. PA5, nothing to laugh at. It's just, you know, you gotta be able to willing to deal with the fucking this thing with this and adapters and this price, because there are cheaper amps out there and there are crown amps out there. But if you want the desktop solution of just murder power, this is the one. I want to end it constantly on the music, but I realize I haven't done the outro. Anyway, I'm done. Wallpaper, cat girl, description. Speakers, amps, everything. Patreon subscribe star. See reviews early, because it might take you 3 or 4 days to determine, is Zeos high while he's making this? And the answer is no. I just ate a lot of spicy Mexican food that I made myself. So of course I'm acting like this. But yeah, Patreon subscribe star, see reviews early, participate in yard sales, and get into the Sound Demo Oasis channel where all the sound demos that go to waste or go away or need to have songs blocked, they're all lossless there. The older ones are not lossless, but they're as lossless as I can get them off the original files, and you can go and listen to them, download them, and do whatever you like. The $10 a month line paywall, let's call it a paywall. It's a beautiful thing. I imagine a wall made of money. that you have to leap over to get into it. The $10 chat is behind there. And in the $10 chat is the lifetime swap meet channel, where if you are in there, you can then trade gear with friends and family members who are also in there, because I'm assuming everyone's whole family is in there. Haven't had a whole family join Z Reviews yet. Like wife, mother, grandmother, little kids, cousins. I want the whole family. The whole fucking family. So there's that. And then Hi-Fi Guides and Hi-Fi Guides forums, which are currently sponsored by Dakoni and soon to be Mayflower. So thank you to them for putting ads on the site that we actually care about. Like, I like Mayflower. I like their stuff. They just need to update their things, but they're good. And Dakoni, I can't tell you how many Dakoni tips from pads I've sold. They should have been sponsoring me harder than they were. I get no kickbacks from DakoniAudio.com. So for that $500 they pay me to swap pads. That was my first sponsored video. It's amazing. My first and only sponsored video. I need to be sponsored by like a donut shop. Something un-audio. So I could just be like, yep, you know what? I love this amplifier, but you know what I like better than that? VPN. Random VPN. Waifu VPN. Oh my god, I could do a collab with a whole bunch of fucking VTubers and like anime bullshit. That would be the fucking, that's where the money's at. Right the fuck there in the anime waifu fucking things. Let's do some U2 and then I'm going back upstairs. Goodbye, everyone. Oh.